All right. New site. So each day of new site, the new site app will build upon the previous day codes, starting with class-based components, the class-based components version first. Today, we're going to create one new component and 2 pages in a routing system to build up new sites. So we're going to have like a home page and like an articles page or something like that. A large majority of this code has already been written for you either here in the source directory or in yesterday's code. So you can either use either or. So for this challenge, we've provided the solutions to new site 1 in the starting code up in here. So if you open up that, you can see like the starting solutions for the components, and or we can use the code that we wrote yesterday, which I'm probably going to use the code that I wrote because I'm familiar with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is fork this over to my personal GitHub. So I'm forking over, and then I'm going to clone it down. All right, so it's forked over. I'm gonna copy that over, and I'm gonna list everything out. All right, and I'm gonna git clone new site 2. So I'm gonna cd into new site 2, list everything out, code-r, and open this into a new VS Code window. So I'm just gonna go through, kind of look at what else I need to do. So we're gonna create.
Do you mind making that a little larger?
This one, or
the coding window, please.
this one?
Yes, please.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new React app from scratch. So it's npx, create React app. And then I'm going to call this app. I'm just going to call it news site, not moose site, news site. I'm going to say 2. Probably going to get an error. Oh, it worked. Or it did not work. Okay, cannot create a project name, new site 2 because of naming restrictions. Names can no longer contain capital letters. All right, I'm going to clear that. Instead of new site, uppercase I's, lowercase. This might take a minute, but let's see. So it says copy over the components, data, and pages directory from this repo, the source folder. And then it says, if you'd like to copy over your own code, replace the following files in the components directory, which I'm probably going to do. And then copy over the app.js from either this repo or my new site 1 project, which I'm going to do as well. What does this say? Don't worry about it. All right. Does anybody have any initial questions about React? Nope. All right.
Why does it say happy hacking at the end?
Because it's happy hacking. Good luck. Have fun hacking.
So is it hacking in the word of getting into a system, or hacking in the sense of solving a problem? Solving
a problem. So React was created by Facebook, and Facebook, I think one of their values is always like hacking or something like that. That's what like Mark Zuckerberg would always talk about, is like hacking, whether it's systems or just like creating problems, or not creating problems, creating solutions. Yeah. But yeah, also creating. Oh, what, I just pressed something. Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah. What just happened? Where did my code go? There it goes. All right, so I'm going to cd into new site 2, which is my React app right here. Let's just read the instructions again, just to make sure I need I know what to actually copy over. So copy over the components, data, and pages directory from this repo's source directory into my new React project. All right. So I'm going to come over here, open up source, and it says copy over the components into source. Are you sure? Yep. Copy over the data directory. Okay. And then copy over the pages directory. Okay. And then it says, if you'd like to use your own code from new site 1, replace the following files in the component, which is article teaser, articles, article teaser, and app.nav. So I'm going to open up here. App.nav is this right now. I'm going to copy over my app.nav. Let's see. Just make sure everything is this. It might even be the same. All right. Looks like it's a little different, maybe. So it's app.nav, article teaser, and articles. So let's save that. Article page, open up that, but close app.nav just to make sure. I'm going to copy over the article page. Let's see if everything, so it looks like it's a little different. All right, and then the article teaser, create date. All right. Oh, come on, what the hell just happened? And then I'm going to make sure everything's working. I'm going to step through my code. Once I make sure everything's working, I'm going to copy over those 4 components, and then also copy over my app.js file. All right, so I'm going to close that.
If we wanted to, could we delete the folder that each component is already in? Would that affect it at all?
Like completely delete this folder and then just copy over your app.nav folder?
Yes.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah,
You
this is
just have to make sure you update your import paths in the main app.js file if you do that.
Okay. That's a good point. All right, so it looks like I just copied over my app.js file as well. All right, later we'll be doing that, but if you're using React-Bootstrap, I just want to see what all this stuff. Okay, I'm just going to run this just to make sure everything works. So I'm going to clear the terminal down here. I'm going to do npm start. If I copied over everything correctly, hopefully it all still works. Where is it looking at? All right, it looks at. All right. So everything looks like it's working. I'm going to open up the console just to make sure everything's working. I click on that. All right. So I'm going to kind of collapse that. And let's like walk through. So our entry point is index.js file. We import our app component up here. We render it in this React DOM render method. We have this React strict mode. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that just for, you can have it on there. I'm just going to delete it just to keep things a little less, I don't know. For this instructional purposes, I don't need that in here. So we go over to app.js. We come in here. This is a class-based component. We have a constructor, just as like there's like the dunder init method in Python, takes in props, super props, so that just we can have access to props. Looks like we grab a random article index right here, and we're importing news from this JSON file that's coming from data. So news items right here. This is looks like the JSON file. So oh, right here, news right here. So it's this news file. So this has different articles in here. So it grabs a random article from there, right there. And then we create state, this dot state. We have some nav items, which comes from the nav items JSON file. And then we have just a random article with an article ID from this random article index. And we grab the title, abstract, byline, image, and random articles created at date. So right there. And we do some destructuring of state by grabbing the individual article and the nav items. We have this h1 tag, that's the app component. And then we render the app nav component where we're passing in the nav items as a property to the app.nav or the app nav component. We are also passing in handle nav click as a prop, which literally just console logs the clicked item. So if we go over to app.nav, right there, I'm going to split the screen right there. I'm going to close that. So this app.nav takes in nav items and handle clicks as props. So we're doing some destructuring there. Looks like we have a function that creates the nav items that maps through the nav item. So each individual nav item and the index of that nav items, and it just returns a tag with a key for the index and an on-click event that runs the handle nav click, and then just console logs that nav item value. And then down here in the actual return, this is where where we actually render some JSX. This is where we actually call the nav items.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So yesterday I put the nav item value in the href and it worked. Is that like a wrong way to do it, or?
Like right here?
Yeah.
No, not at all. So we're gonna actually, so like the nav item value, like here.
Yeah.
But when you clicked on that, it took you to a URL. Is that correct?
No, I loaded on the page the same as if I had it as the onclick.
So if you got rid of the onclicked,
I think it was the nav item value, but it was one of the A tags where I put it in and it had the same functionality as the onclick.
interesting.
I didn't expect it to work, but I just tried it.
Well, like, did it actually like console log and everything? So
I don't know.
did you have the onclick there? Just curious.
No.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, like, so this href, if you click it, it'll still do something. It'll probably navigate you to wherever you want to go. But we want to like execute a function. So it probably won't actually execute a function with the onclick if you put anything here. So we render the nav items. So if we come back here, those are these beautiful looking nav items. And then if we come down here, we have the article teaser component, which we render the article teaser component. So article. So I'm going to bring that over here. With the article teaser, we pass in property of ID, title, created at date, handle click, or handle title click, which we're just passing in, again, the ID, title, created at date, as well as this anonymous method that just returns a console log of what the article ID is. So if we come over here, we do some object destructuring right here. So we don't have to reference this .props.id throughout this entire component. We just can reference the ID, title, created at date. So here we just render an href with an on-click. We call this handle title click that we're passing in down from here, which is literally just this function right here that just console logs the article ID. And then we just have this p tag of the created at date. If we keep going, we have the article component. So that's what this is right here. So, or I'm sorry, the article teaser component. That's what this is with the article. What is it? The article title as well as the created at date. Then lastly, we have the article component, which is right here. And we pass in the entire article object. And right here in this little 3 dots, what do the 3 dots do? What is that called?
Spread operator.
Yep, the spread operator. So essentially it's doing the exactly same thing as what, so it's essentially taking this and putting it down here, just kind of like this is. ID, title, created at that date, but it's doing it for all the article keys. So ID, title, abstract, byline, image, created at date. That's essentially exactly what it's doing. It's just a little shorthand. So if I open up the article component right here, I can access this.props.title, this.props.created at date. So right here, I'm not doing any object or destructuring up here. I'm just calling this.props. I could probably do some destructuring if I want to do some refactoring. I also noticed that I'm doing some conditional. What is this called again? Does anybody remember the and?
So that's just like an if.
Short circuit.
Yep. So it's essentially, it's like, hey, if this is true, just this one line is true, render this H2 tag. If it's not, don't render it. Same with right here. Well, if there's an image, then render the image. Cool. All right. Any questions about the initial setup? All right. Let's go back to the new site.
Wait, I had a question about the
Yep.
and. So it checks the first condition. If it's true, then it calls the second condition, and that's an actual, I guess, mini function.
This is just a JSX tag. So it's like, hey, this JSX tag or this like JSX is always going to be true. So, hey, if this is true, then render
Then
this. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a way to say if it's false? Like,
And do something
if
else.
this is false, yeah, do something else.
Yeah, that's where we get into a ternary operator. So I'm just gonna do that. Yeah. So if I wanted to do it just like an if else statement, it'd be like, hey, if the byline is true, question mark, render this, else do something else. So it could be don't render anything, or make it null, or render like an H1 tag, something else.
Can you use that question mark without giving an else statement, or does it have
No,
to be?
you have to have like what else should it do? And
Would
these,
you be able to just put a exclamation for a single and in front of this dot props byline to reverse it from being true to false, then do this only?
sorry, say that
Like
one more
that.
time.
He's
So
saying
not
if
ternary, but yeah, the
Oh,
same
wait.
and.
just put an exclamation in front of that freaking and see if it,
like
it
this?
does like. But I don't think that.
No, like just like that. So you're flipping a single condition from a true, if it's true, to a now a false by putting the exclamation, and then if that's false, do only this.
Oh no, so this always has to evaluate to true.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good question. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about some styling. Later today, we'll be adding some styling. There are many libraries out there. There's React-Strap, there's React-Bootstrap. I'm sure you've heard of like Material UI. This is another one, a very popular one. It's probably conforms to more like modern design patterns, but we're already kind of familiar with Bootstrap. So we can use React-Strap or React-Bootstrap. These are essentially just extensions of Bootstrap, but what's nice about them is that they are, instead of using CSS, like class names and all of that, they have components that render the Bootstrap design. So for example, let's look at, I guess right here, like, so, or let's look at buttons. So instead of having like a button with a class name of button and like primary, whatever, we literally just have a component called button, and that has a property called variant. And based off of that property, we can pass in secondary, success, or whatever. So it's kind of nice because instead of using classes to determine what the design pattern, the design is, we just use components. All right. The difference between React-Strap and React-Bootstrap, there's not a whole lot of difference, except that React-Bootstrap, I think, is the official Bootstrap React like CSS library, whereas React-Strap is a third party React Bootstrap library. There are, like, React-Strap is probably a little easier to use, but I'm just going to go ahead and use React Bootstrap. So I click getting started. It says npm install React-Bootstrap as well as Bootstrap. So I'm installing React Bootstrap and React-Strap.
Is that your preference? If you don't mind me asking. Really quick.
My, like, in real life, like,
Yes.
no,
Yeah,
my
no,
preference is Material UI, but that could there's a little bit of a learning curve there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But React Bootstrap, React-Strap, you can make beautiful looking applications using just that.
In between the two, which is your preference as well? Sorry.
Between React-Strap and React Bootstrap?
Yeah.
Or probably React Bootstrap, just because I know it's the official React/Bootstrap library.
Got it.
Tom, is Material UI different from Google's Material Design?
I actually don't know. I think it is. Yeah. Like, when you say different, do you mean like different design patterns or like totally separate?
No, I mean, like, are they those two separate libraries or two separate applications, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
them?
I believe they are. All right.
Have you used Chakra?
No, I've never even heard of it. What is it? Chakra?
Yeah, it's like Material UI, but new.
Oh, no, I haven't. Yeah, there's like a bunch of them. There's, what is it? Chakra?
Yeah, it's CHAKRA.
CH.
AKRA.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Interesting. Cool. Let's look at,
This is all being recorded, by the way.
that's fine. It's still installing. I just want to see what the buttons. So yeah, see, these are these buttons. You can have like color scheme. That's kind of nice. Interesting.
Those look pretty cool, actually.
All right, so I just installed React Bootstrap and React Bootstrap and Bootstrap. So if I look down here in my package.json file, you can kind of see React Bootstrap is installed and Bootstrap. All right, so if I come over here to the React Bootstrap documentation, I can see like how I can import buttons, browser, global style sheets. So look right here, it says, because React Bootstrap doesn't depend on very precise version of Bootstrap, we don't ship with any included CSS. However, some style sheets is required to use these components. And it says the following line can be included in your source index.js file or your app.js file. So I'm going to copy that over and open up my index.js file and just import this at the very top as it says. All right, I should have access to Bootstrap now, or React Bootstrap. So I'm going to npm start again. And come back over to the material. Where is it? Should I close all this? All right. So it looks like don't move. So everything is working at the moment. The A tag links in your article teaser component depends on a little pound sign to the URL when clicked. That can cause a problem when handling routes, URL changes later today. Let's modify the and click handler to alleviate this on click to this. So, all right, I'm going to copy that over. So article teaser. It looks like right here we have this on click handle title click. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to add some spacing in here. All right, I'm just going to look at this. All right, I'm going to actually take this out and put it into its own method. So I'm going to say, instead of handle title click, I'm going to just say handle click. So I'm going to create handle click equals takes in an event. And then I can move this up here and move this up here. And I can get rid of this on click. And what does this say? Handle click is not defined. What do you mean it's not defined? Oh, I see. I'm inside the render. So I'm going to do const. I can do it in here, or I can do it outside of the render. And if I do it outside the render, again, this is a class, so I don't need that there. And do I need, actually, I'm just going to keep it inside of the render just because. So right there, handle click. And so instead of here invoking this handle title click down here, I'm just going to call handle click. Takes in the event, handle title click. I have an ID. Looks like I'm getting some errors right here. It says is assigned a value but is never used, but it looks like I'm using it right here. It's because I've got this dot props, which I don't need because I did some destructuring up here. So I can get rid of all of that. All right. That looks right. So event prevent default. What does the prevent default do? Does anybody know?
Prevents your form from refreshing and thereby losing your data and your inputs.
Yep, it prevents the default behavior of a form or whatever element it's attached to. So it just says prevent the default default behavioral to prevent the default behavior and just continue. So as Brian said, like when you click form, it automatically renders a refresh. If you have this event prevent default, it prevents it from automatically refreshing and losing some data. So let's come back here.
Question, Tom.
Yep.
How do we know when to put parentheses after passing the function as props and when not to do it?
So like right here?
Yes.
So if I were to just immediately invoke it like that, right when this page renders, it's going to come down to this click and just immediately invoke this, this function, which we don't want. So right here, this says like, hey, here's this function. When I actually click it, then it'll invoke. You can also do this right here. So if you needed to pass in some like arguments here,
Parameters.
or yeah, I'm sorry, parameters, or yeah,
Okay.
argument. So like right there. So it's just an example as an argument you might have to pass. Oh, what the hell just happened? This is another way to do it. So right here, I really don't have to pass in an argument. It just automatically is going to pass in the event. But yeah. So essentially, it just depends on if you need to pass in additional arguments to the function. If you don't, then you can just have this syntax. All right. So if I come over here and refresh, if I click on this, there we go. Everything looks like it's still working. All right. Let's see. All right. So article list. We have a new component today that has been stubbed out, article list component. Instead of showing a random article, we want our homepage to show a list of article teasers. Your mission is to handle the props that are being passed in appropriately and create the content of the component, content that the component should render. So I'm just going to inspect the article. What is it? Article list component right there. And it looks like, so the props that are being passed in, let's see. Looks like we have an article teaser that's already being imported. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to render a bunch of article teasers. I think that's what it says. So an array of article objects, handle title list. The article list component will receive an array of articles. If you want a refresh on the data shape, take a look at this news.json file, map over the array, and create an array of article teasers when you map over the articles array. All right, so it looks like I'm going to need to create an array of article teaser components at some point. So let me just reference. All right. So how do we go ahead and render a list of articles? So it looks like it's going to take in an array of article objects. Okay. Don't necessarily know specifically how it's going to do that yet. But we can, so let's just say it's going to take in a list of articles. And how do we usually want to render a list of a bunch of components or a list of A tags? If you want to render a bunch of something.
Unordered list.
Okay, we can just create an unordered list. So let's look at, was there a challenge in the past where we had to render a bunch of things over and over again? You said render an unordered list.
We used a for loop in the detention one.
Okay, use the for loop. So yeah, we can do that.
Usually you'll map through an array.
Or you can map through an array. Yep. So I'm gonna write a get all article teasers. Get all article teasers. That's gonna take in, what should it take? I'm gonna have it take in articles. So articles is gonna be an array. And I can do I can render it a couple of ways. I can, create or const all teasers. Why do I keep treasures? Equals an empty array. And then I can articles dot map through each article. Grab each article, grab the ID, and push. Maybe I can push. Sorry, like an all teasers dot push. And what do I want to push into this array?
Isn't map just returning the array? Like you need to put that in a separate.
So do I need to? Can I do I need to do that?
Yeah, can you just return that map?
So I can just return this map, and maybe what return?
Yeah, whatever you're gonna push.
Yeah, what do I want to push into the array?
Article title.
Article teaser with all of the information, just like on app.js.
So where's app? Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna copy this over right here, and I'm just gonna return something like that. And I think it's probably, whoop. I'm gonna do that just to keep things. This is kind of messy right now.
I think you can get rid of ID that you're passing it into if you're going to call article.id.
So yeah, it looks like I can get rid of the article, the ID. So do I need a key? A key? I don't know. We'll get to that later. So it looks like I don't need to have like this is typically the index of the article, like what index I'm at. So it looks like I might not need that. I don't know. It might yell at me. We'll figure that out as we go.
So this creates an array of objects.
An array of article teasers. So just an array of article teasers. All right. So then here, I want to execute this or invoke it down here in my JSX. Not there. Get all article teasers. And I want to pass in this articles, but I don't know where these articles are coming from yet. It doesn't really tell me where they're coming from yet. But I know it's going to be an array of articles or a list of articles right there where it says an array of article objects. So I'm going to say articles. Actually, I'll do this.props.articles because it's going to be passed down as a prop at some point. And what else it looks like it says? It says it has a handle title click function along with it. Is that where it goes? But it says I need to pass, so it's being passed, like a handle title click function is being passed in. I don't know where that's being passed in from. So I'm just gonna call this dot props dot handle title click like so. And if it breaks, if there's something broken, we'll figure it out. But right now I'm just trying to figure out what's being passed in. It kind of tells me what's being passed into the article list component. So it's an array of article objects and a handle title click function. All right. So ID, handle title, don't worry about this not doing anything yet. Okay, thank you. We'll wire it all up in the next section. All right. So it looks like this article list is supposed to accept an array of articles, which we haven't gotten yet, as well as a handle title click function that's being passed down as props. So in the render method, I'm rendering this get articles teasers. I'm calling this.props.articles, which is an array of articles. It's being passed up here. And then I'm just returning this articles.map, which is going to return an array of article teaser components. And on the handle title click, I'm also passing that in as a prop with this.props.handle title click. And I can call this anything too, like anything I want, but it's generally best practice to kind of call this property the same thing as like what is actually being passed in. All right. Let's keep going. So React Router. So React Router is a popular library that allows us to essentially make a single page application like this, because right now it's, what the hell? Right now it's just something like this. What is this? Okay, interesting. Looks like I'm displaying this twice, but I'm able to go to like an article article 1. If I click on that, it should go to article 1 or something, or yeah. So React Router allows React to act like they have like multiple pages, almost multiple routes. So if I come over here, I'm gonna just open up this. It's like, so here's the React Router library. Kind of shows like the backstory, basic. I'm gonna do the quick start. So here's like the example demo. So I'm gonna npm install React Router DOM. So I'm gonna come down here and npm install. Actually, I'm gonna clear it first. npm install. Oh no, kill. So I'm just gonna copy that. npm install React Router DOM, and it should install it. All right, I just installed React Router DOM, which will give us the ability to create URLs or routes to different components. So what I'm going to do now is just exit out of that. And then in our app.js file, if I look over here, I'm going to import browser router and this route component from React Router DOM. So I'm going to say, I'm going to give it some space, import, import browser router. I'm going to say import browser router as router. It's just renaming browser router to router, and import the route component from React Router DOM.
What exactly is the point of making space between imports on these pages? I mean, I've seen like Chad do it before too. I don't really see the point of it.
It's literally just separating your code as to like what you're importing from external libraries and what you're importing from other places within your application.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot in the real world as far as like just best practices. Just keep a line between what you're importing from within the app and what you're importing from external libraries. So I imported browser router as the router, and I'm importing the route component. So just like here, browser router and the route. And then inside of my app.js, which is npm start this, make sure it's still going. And then, so everything should still be working. It's loading up, and then in here, I'm going to get rid of pretty much everything. I'm going to delete all this stuff. I'm going to come up here, delete that. All right. So I'm going to come over here. So now I just am left with this, this nav component. So the next thing I'm going to do is wrap. I'm going to do router. So I'm going to wrap this. So this is a component. And I'm going to wrap a div as well as the route component, like so. But I don't need that. So I've got two route components. And in these route components, they take in some properties or attributes. So when I go to this route, I want the exact path to equal that home screen. So just /. So hold on. It's going to throw an error, but it's okay. Or not. Cool. So this route, when I get to this exact path, I want it to render the component, and I want to render the home page component, which I haven't done anything with yet. So it's giving me an error. Home page is not defined. So if I look over here, so we have these pages. I've got this home page component, and this home page component is already kind of created for us. It looks like it's going to render the article list component. So I need to import a home page from dash, I'll go down to pages and the home page. So there we go. We're starting to see something, and I'm getting an error. We'll address that later. And then also, and so we've got the home page. We also want to go whenever a user goes to the exact path of /articles. And if I wanted to go to a specific like article ID, you know, in like Python routes, we do like int, like equals, I don't know, some like number. I don't quite remember off the top of my head in the URL patterns for Django. Well, here we can just do article ID, and we can call this pretty much whatever we want, but we need to like make sure it's the same throughout. So just using this colon article ID knows that, hey, this is going to be dynamic and might change. So it could be a number, it could be a string, it could be anything. And when I go to articles/article ID, I want to render the article. I think it's just, is it the article page component? So under pages, so I want to render the article page component. And so I'm rendering the article page component. Again, I'm not importing that, so I need to import the article page component from pages/article page. So let's kind of walk through. And then, so once I did that, it looks like I don't need some data that's in here. So I'm not using this article anymore. So I'm not using this article anymore. I can get rid of that. I don't need this random article anymore. It looks like I don't need this random article index anymore as well. So I'm not using these components anymore either. So I can get rid of that. I can clean that up. And it looks like I'm also not using the news .json file anymore. So let's see what happens when I'm going to that just / like so. It's literally just like going to the home page. I'm getting an error there. I'll deal with that. So it's coming into the app.js. It's rendering the nav items. It's going to this router now and saying, hey, what component should I render when I go to this exact path? So the exact path is just that /. So it wants to render the home page component. And so I'm coming over here to the home page component. And the home page component looks like this is where I'm importing news, that news.json file. So this is the list of articles. I'm also importing the article list component that we just stubbed out. So it comes in here and it just returns the article list component. And I'm passing that array of articles and this handle title click method as I mentioned before, which will take in an article ID, looks like, and console log, it says to do, blah, 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 blah. So if I come over the article list component that the home page is rendering, it's being passed in that articles from right here, which is that JSON file, as well as this handle title click and this .props.handle title click. And that's where I'm rendering the article teasers. So I'm starting with the home page. The home page is rendering the article list component right here. And then the article list component is returning a list of article teaser components. So it's like a component that's rendering a component that's rendering a bunch of components. And I'm coming over here, warning each child in a list should have a unique key in article list at article teaser. So it looks like I do need that. Well, I don't really need that. I can just use like the key equals article ID as well. It just needs to be unique. If I come back here and do a refresh, oh, I'm still getting the same error. Article list at article teaser. Maybe they've got some same IDs. I don't know. I'm just going to do IDX. Maybe that's, hopefully that will fix it. There, yeah, that fixed it. It looks like maybe one of the IDs have been the same in the article. So what questions do you have about that data flow?
For those routes, how does this conflict with Django since we're creating, you can create routes in both React and Django?
It doesn't conflict with them. So in the future, your URLs in Django are going to be strictly backend URLs to get data. Your front-end URLs are going to be strictly used to render specific components. And so in Django on the backend, you'll use that fetch API, like just like you're like a third-party API. I think Ankur kind of showed you that yesterday and grabbing a random word. Instead of going to a third-party API, you'll use the fetch and go to a backend Django URL to get the data. And we're going to be covering that all next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, good question. What other questions do you have?
This is what RESTful like rendering is, right? Like with the from the getting the data from the URL.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So next, so does anybody have any questions or want me to go over anything with regards to the homepage, the article?
Can
list?
you
Yep.
just quickly explain the constructor props and super props again? Yeah, right there.
Yep. So just like a class in Python has that dunder init method that is immediately invoked when you create an instance, that's what the constructor is. So the constructor is a function that's immediately invoked when the app renders. So this constructor is automatically rendered. The props is automatically passed in. So if we want to use props from, essentially we're inheriting the props from the component class in React. And then the super props is literally just passing in that props to that component, the component class. And then we have access to all those props throughout this component. So if you want to see like what is in those props, you can kind of see props. Sorry, this dot props. And if I come over here, so initially it's 0, there's nothing in there. But you'll see in the, let's come over here. Let's just see what props is in the home page. So props is automatically passed in. So I don't think I need this here for everything to still work. But so notice how props down here, or at least when it was initially right there. So if I refresh, now props here, that's all, everything's being passed down. Look what I have access to in props. I have history, location, match. So we can use all of this stuff as we move on in this exercise, which you'll see.
And that's just like built into the component class, or
props, or the
all the information
constructor.
that was in the
Yeah,
out.
that's all like built into React and what's being passed down from React's component class. All right. Cool. All right. And then we created this other route, article page. So if I wanted to go to articles/ID, it's going to render this article page. I don't know. So let's just open up the article page, bring that over here, and let's just see what it's rendering. It's rendering nothing right now, which we can show you. So if I go to articles/1, it's still rendering the nav bar, because in app.js, the nav bar is outside of the router. So this will always render no matter what, regardless of what page I go to. This will always render the nav bar. But when I go to the articles, what article ID of 1, 4, or 5, it's going to render the article page, which comes up here, and it just renders that div article page. So if I go to go to that, it's still going to render the article page. Does anybody have a question?
If you go to a path that doesn't exist, does it crash or just give you an error, like /articles?
So if I just go to /articles, so yeah, it just doesn't render anything. So if I go to like whatever, there's not a route for this that's created, but it still renders this page there, the nav bar, but it just doesn't render anything else. So there is a way to render something that doesn't exist, like a 404 page or just a default page. But
Tom?
Yep.
Why does app.js need to call the super? What props? Is it a different props?
I think it just always has to, when it refers to, so right here, must call super constructor in derived class before accessing this or returning from the derived structure. I think it's just, I actually don't know specifically what, like from an architecture perspective as to why, but I'm just assuming is that we just need to use props that's being passed in from the component. Or we need to access, in order for this to work correctly, we need to pass in props to the parent component.
Are the props the same, or are they?
Yeah, they'll always be the same for the first, like from the very top level of the app. The props will always be the same.
Thank you.
Yep. There we go. So articles/1. So we have our article page. All right. So at this time, you may see a number of warnings. All right, cool. So once the homepage component is successfully brought in, it's about 60% complete. Once you have defined your route, and assuming you successfully did the article list, blah, blah, blah. So here's the article page. It should simply have a nav bar at the top and article page boilerplate. All right. As mentioned above, the home page is largely complete. Let's look at this. Let's see what we should do next. The one piece of functionality needed to complete the handle title click function being passed into the article page, ultimately this function. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to go to the home page real quick, where it displays the list of articles. So when I click on this, notice how it renders this to do that I need to do. So when I click on this, I want it to go to the actual article, the article page. So I want it to go to /articles/ whatever ID I want it to go to. So in here, I need to render a specific function, or I need to somehow navigate, update the route or update the URL right here. So I remember just showing you console log this dot props in the home page. Let's examine that real quick. So right here's the home page history. So I'm looking over here. Maybe there's something in the props that I can use. So I've got the location. Maybe I can update the path name or something. There's match. Oh, so I've got params, exact true. No. Now if I look at history, I can do this dot props. Look, I can even like go, like this is a function that says go back. So I can automatically invoke this function and it will automatically route me to some location. I've got go forward. I've got listen, location, and push. So if I look at push, push is a function that takes in a path of where I want to actually go. And it looks like it takes like an optional state. So in here, maybe I want to, instead of handle title click, so I'm just going to console log the article ID right here and just see what it does when I click on that. So I'm going to refresh that page. So I've got the history when I click on that. So I've got undefined there. Why is that? So that's not good. Article. So when I click on that, why does that do that? I need to do some investigating. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Article ID. Maybe this dot props. So I'm going to go to, so article list. Come over here. This dot props that handle title click. That's where I'm calling that. Article teaser. This on clock.
Would it be article dot ID versus article underscore ID?
Oh, I'm trying to, so handle title click dot event dot ID. Let's see. So article ID I'm passing in here. So news, article list. This dot props that handle title click. Maybe is it this that I'm missing? I don't know. Well, let's see. Undefined, undefined, undefined. So maybe article teaser. Let's go to the article teaser page. So I think it has something to do with this. Handle title click. So ID. I'm just going to console log ID in here. Can you open up a console log ID?
I think it's because you need to get the event.target.value and then pass it into the handle title click as that.
Handle title. That's only if I'm passing in. So ID, article ID. I'm just doing some. So I've got all the articles there. Let's look at, the hell, look at this. Does this even have an ID on it? Article ID. So it looks like the ID, can you see that? Like, is there an ID on here? Nope.
Doesn't look like it.
So it looks like the article ID, I'm just going to use the index +1. Whoop. Maybe that will work. So yeah, oh, there we go. So we've got ID showing up there. I'm going to get rid of that console log. Article teaser. That's all the list of all IDs that were being rendered. All right, let's do a refresh. And if I click on that, still undefined, still undefined. So home page. Oh, it's because, yeah. All right, I see what's going on. So here, handle, title, click. When I click on that title, I'm going to pass in, instead of console log, yeah, this is my bad. Article ID. So I'm going to just do this dot props dot history dot push article ID. So I'm just looking down here. So this is being passed down as handle, title, click to the article list page. And so I'm just going to console log this dot props dot not component props handle, title, click. I just want to see what that looks like. So okay, it's right there. And this dot props dot handle, title, click. Oh, I see. It's because I messed it up right here. There we go. So I'm actually going to go back to where it actually is just console log, because I want to get that to show up first. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that console log. So yeah, my issue was the data, and I can actually inspect it here in the news. Multimedia. So here's a single article. It doesn't have an ID attached to it. So I have to figure out like another way to get this index. So I'm just using the index of here, but I'm doing index +1 because the index starts at 0. I guess I could technically start at, yeah, let's actually do ID there. And okay, there we go. So now when I showed you that history.props.push, so this .props.history.push, here I want to push in what route do I actually want to go to with this ID. Does anybody know when I click on this history.push, what route do I want to push to the URL?
Articles/article ID.
Yep. So like,
so you can use a backtick. Yeah.
Articles/article ID, like something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why yours isn't recognized in the variable though.
That's just my linter. But let's see if this works. So if I come over here, I get the article. So cool. It's starting to work now. And I want to go here. So I go to Expedia or I don't even know. I'm not even going to try. And it goes to articles/1, which should be the first article. Right here goes to article 2. Cool. So I'm just making sure my routes are working right.
So when you referred to the ID, why did you put IDX +1 and not just ID +1 in?
Right here or anywhere pretty much. So
Yeah,
I'm
so in the parentheses on .handle title click, if you already set ID to equal the index, why not do ID +1? I'm confused as to why.
So the reason why I'm referring to IDX is literally just because it's right here. I'm referring it to index. And then here, I'm just passing that index of wherever this article as an ID. And I'm doing the index +1 right here because I'm referring to the index right here. I'm not referring to the ID. Yep. All right. Let's move on to, so we've got our URLs working, but now we actually have to want to display the specific article on the page. So the article page component should render the article component and provide the necessary props to the child component. If you remember, article accepts a variety of props from a single article object, blah, 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 blah. So let's come over here. So the article, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. We've got the home page kind of working now. Let's look at the article page. So it looks like the article page is already kind of telling us that we need to render the article page, or I'm sorry, the article. So here, what can we do? So right here, it looks like we want to render the article page, something like that. But now we want to actually, how do we grab, let's see something. Oh, I'm just going to go back a couple. So I'm going to see what props are being passed in. This console log, .log, this .props. And come over here. So cool. This is the props being passed in. And I'm on article. I wanted to display article 3 up here. Can you see up here in the URL? But I need to somehow extract 3 from the URL and grab that third article from that news JSON file and render the article component and pass that information into the article component. So how do I go about extracting 3 from the URL?
It's in one of the props under match.
Okay, so I'm under history. So I've got length 20. Yep, that's not here. Maybe location. Oh, cool. I got path name articles /3. So if I can do some like string manipulation there and just grab the last element. But maybe what if so I can do like some function that extracts the very last element there. But if I look at match, it looks like match.params article ID. This article ID is what I'm actually, so right here, article ID 3. And this article ID as params is coming from the app.js right here. So if I do like something else and refresh it and come down here, you can kind of see where it says something else. So that's where that's coming from. But we want it to be article ID. So if we can extract that, so this .props.match .params or match params article ID equals 3. So if I'm over here in my article page, I can, so is it match.params. I'm just going to console log that to see what that looks like. So I'm just going to refresh it. I see it down here, but I want, so article 3, cool. Dot article ID. There we go. We got 3. Cool. So now we can somehow grab that article from the news index. So maybe, not maybe, so I can say const article equals news, which I'm importing up here, this news.json. And I want to grab the 3rd article from there. All right. And now I should be able to just pass that article directly into the article component. And I can either, so if I look at that data, if I inspect it right here, I can add all this stuff onto, oh wait, I could add like abstract, byline, created at date, geofacet, item type, all onto here. Or there's a shorthand. How do I pass all these objects or these keys onto the article?
The dots.
Yep. The spread operator. Yep. I can do that dot article. Now, if I refresh that, article page should already be wired up. So there we go. But for some reason, I'm displaying that. So I'm going to inspect my article component right there. So it looks like I've got 2 bylines. Cool. And is this in fact a 3rd article? So I actually don't know. So we can do that pretty easily by going here. The X, if I click that, look, it's not the same. So something's different. So when
Is it because the +1?
Yep. So it looks like when I click on the first article, it's displaying the 2nd article, which I don't want. So I can do that a couple ways, but right here, when I'm grabbing the ID, I can just do ID -1, and that should do it. So if I click on that one, I get that one. If I click on this VOL right there, but I noticed like the image isn't showing up. Why isn't the image showing up? So it looks like we have to look at our article. So this .props.image, so make sure that there's an image. So I'm looking down here in our actual data, and I'm not seeing an image URL or like an image. I'm seeing a multimedia, which is an array, and that array has a URL attached to it. So it looks like this has multiple images attached to it, but I only want 1 image. So I'm going to have to refactor this .props multimedia media dot index 0. So if there is an index 0, I can grab the URL on index 0. So I'm just going to grab the very first one. All right. Is there a byline? Okay, there's a byline, making sure that's correct. Is there a created date? Correct. And this happens. So you might be developing and your backend engineers might be like, hey, the data structure is going to look like this for your front end. So you can create some mock data and build out your front end. But at some point, the backend engineers might be like, hey, the data structure changed a little bit. We're actually adding this multimedia tag. That's an array. Go ahead and update your components to reflect that. So come over here. Now we've got everything's kind of working, it looks like. Yep. So it looks like that one didn't have a page or an image. Cool. So let's just do a quick review. So if when I go to, where is it? The article teaser page, so the home page renders a list of article teasers right here. And when I click on that link, home page, when I click on that link, it's this handle title click, which is a function that runs this .props.histories.push that passes in an article ID. So I can go to the article list page now. So this article list page renders this function, calls this function that passes in an array of articles that's being passed down via props right here. So that's being passed into the article list. So I'm passing the articles, this get teasers, I'm mapping through and I'm returning an array of article teasers, key, index, title, article created at date, and I'm actually running this .props.handle title click with the index +1. So this index +1, make sure I go to like instead of articles /0, because that's really not a good route. We want to go to 1, so that's why I'm doing the +1 right there. And when I click on that, it's pushing me there, which once I'm at this route, it comes back over here to app.js saying, hey, we're at a different route. We're no longer at this exact path. We're at this exact path. So render the component article page. So I come over here to the article page. And I'm extracting the article ID from the URL and grabbing that specific article at that index and from the news.json. I'm assigning that to a variable. And I'm passing that article using the spread operator as props to the article component. And then here I'm in the article component. I'm doing this .props.title, this .props. Blah, blah, blah. Is there a way I can refactor this to make it a little more efficient or a little more readable?
Destructure it.
Yep, I can destructure it. So I can do const title, created date, byline. I'll say like multimedia. Media. I might get an error because I don't know if every single thing has a multimedia tag. This .props. So now I can get rid of all these. This .props. Like that. And everything should still work. All right. Cool. Let's go ahead and take let me just pause. So we've pretty much just completed our entire app. So we've got the nav bar working. We've got going to an individual article working. We have the home page that lists a list of article teasers. Now let's kind of like go ahead and make it kind of look a little bit prettier than it currently does. So if I go to React-Bootstrap again, and I want to make the nav bar a little more elegant than it currently is. So if I can come over here, I'm going to go to components. So if you go to components, you can see a list of components that are used. So I'm going to go to nav. Is it navs? So I can go to navs. I don't like that. I'm going to go to nav bar right there. This looks a little bit better. Something like that. Oh, that's kind of cool. I'm just going to look at different nav bar themes. This looks okay. So I'm going to use this one. I just want to keep going. I'm just going to look at, all right, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is here is 3 different nav bars. I'm just going to use the first one. And so nav bar right there. Okay. Whoop. And I'm going to bring that over to my actual nav bar. Where is it? Nav bar or app nav right here. And in place of this A tag, I'm going to actually render. I just want to actually render something like that just to see what it looks like. And whoop. All right. But I'm getting in these errors. It says navbar is not defined. So I can kind of look at how do I, oh, geez. Yep. So I'm getting a bunch of errors. I can come up here to get started to kind of show you how do I import stuff. So I can do something like that. So import button, but instead of import button, I'm just going to import nav bar, and it looks like nav at the very top. So import nav bar and nav. So these are two different components that are being used. So nav bar here, there's .brand. That's just the syntax of React-Bootstrap. React-Strap doesn't have something like that. And I don't want this form here, so I can get rid of that form. I just want to see what this looks like. Cool. It's kind of nice. Does anybody have any questions about how I brought that in? So now I need to create nav links. So instead of here, I'm going to create a nav link. So up here, I'm going to bring that up there. And nav link, I'm going to replace with this A tag. So nav link there and closing nav link like that. And I can get rid of, oh, not that. Get rid of these default nav links, these hard-coded ones. And everything should now work. So cool. So it looks like here, I'm going to get rid of that nav bar. I'm going to say news site. And I don't want it to go here. I just want it to go home. So there we go. So I click there. Whoop, everything is still kind of working. That's great. If I click new site, it goes to home. I wonder why it does that. Interesting. So I can actually look at what the nav link component does as far as what makes it highlight and stuff. So href, but I'm probably not going to spend too much time on it. So href link pricing. Yeah, I wonder why it does that. Not quite sure. But this is fine. Everything still works. Go to new site, goes to home. If I click that, if I click that, it goes back home. It's a little bit better. I can even make that blue if I wanted to by the variant. So if I look at the styling, so that this is the dark theme, primary. So background color is primary, variant dark, variant light. So if I want it to be primary, click that and it should automatically refresh. So just a little bit different. All right, now we can make maybe this a little bit clean it up a little bit. I'm going to come over here. Not quite sure what React-Bootstrap component I want to use. Come on, click on it. There we go. Looks like there's a list group. So there's something I can do something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Is there anything else that looks semi-appealing? I might as well just use a list group.
Is that like cards? Would that apply?
Oh, yeah, let's look at cards. Yeah, we can use cards. There won't be an image. Oh, yeah, can we use an image? Yeah. Yeah, this looks nice. Yeah, let's use cards. Why not? So I'm just going to copy this over. I'm just kind of looking at other card examples. It might look a little not crappy, but article. I'm gonna article. Nope. Where's my article? Article teaser. So that's where this goes. That's where the title and the created at data are at. So I want to replace that with maybe a card. So if I did that. Let's see what we want. So we got the card width, card image. So here maybe, oh wait, we don't need the image. We don't need, we need the body, card title. So here, can we do card title right here? Just title. And can we add an on click there maybe? And created at date, we'll just do as the card text.
You could make the entire card the anchor click link.
The entire card like clickable?
Yeah.
So would I do the on click right here instead of right there?
You would make it right after the div.
So
you're basically wrapping the entire card in an anchor tag.
But doesn't the handle title click? Does it need to be a link? Can I just like click on it? I just want to see if this works. So I'm going to get rid of this button as well. And so I can import card from React-Bootstrap. All right. I don't know, maybe. All right, looks. So there, it's working. It'd be nice if it was like spread out or anything. But I mean, it works. I don't know if it looks any better. Let's see if I can actually, can I actually just do that? Whoop.
Yeah, and then just move the on click to the anchor.
Anchor tag, and I think it needs an href just
Yeah,
so it doesn't yell at me. Why is it still yelling at me? Oh, whatever. So yeah, so it's a little blue now. Ooh, there we go. Maybe I want some padding or some spacing in between there. So you can look at, like, I think it's utilities, responsive overlays. You can search like margin. Responsive. There's another way to do it. API, row containers, utilities. Theming. So look at. So margin. I'm just looking at stuff like this, like margin. I don't know if that's it.
Bootstrap has a class called card-deck that I think would pretty much make them side by side.
Cool. Yeah, I don't want to like mess around. I don't want to spend too much time, but yeah. So it's card deck. So React Bootstrap.
Well, just the regular Bootstrap.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's definitely a way to do it. So right here, yeah, card deck. That's kind of nice. I just want to look at that. Sweet. Oh, cool. So I just wrap that entire thing in a card deck. So how would I do that? So article teaser, what's actually rendering the article teaser page though? Was it article list?
I think it's home page maybe.
I think it's article list. So here, whoop. Move that up. Get rid of that div. And I can import, not sure if this is going to work, card deck.
You can't do it straight from the article, wrapping the card deck or article teaser.
Well, because the article teaser, oh, like right here?
No, where you were before.
Right here? Well, because it's going to be rendering a bunch of card decks, which I only want to render one based off of how this looks.
Okay, that makes sense.
Let's see. There we go. A little bit better. That's weird. Cool. And lastly, so if I click on that, I would kind of want to render that to make it look a little bit prettier. So that is, what is that? That's the article right here, this component. So I'm going to get rid of that, that, and go to, I've always kind of been a fan of Jumbotrons for some reason. So something like that. I'm going to copy that over. And so I can say like title. Title. So get rid of that. I can do created at date. Get rid of that. Yeah, just move all this kind of stuff up. Get rid of that button. Get rid of that div. Get rid of that div. Then import Jumbotron from React Bootstrap. And there, it looks a little bit a little nicer. All right. So here we go. Got all everything's being rendered. Great. What is the last thing we'll do? So cool, we kind of styled everything to make it look a little nicer. Just like we did with Bootstrap, our new site 1, we want to create a new branch called functional version and convert all these into functional components. I'm going to go ahead and do like a couple just to kind of show you what that process looks like. Some of them are a little more involved than others, depending on what is being passed in. Let's start with app nav. I'm guessing no. Is there one that anybody wants to start with?
App.
App? Ooh, all right. Where is the app? Right here. I already have it open. Oh, I didn't. So there's a couple of things we can do. Or it's like a several step process. So we can do const app. Make that a functional component. We can get rid of the render method at the very bottom and get rid of that closing bracket. And get rid of, what do we got? We got to get rid of this part, the constructor, because it's no longer, we can get rid of the super. We can get rid of, where are the nav items coming from? Right there. So we need to actually declare some state. We can get rid of that. So here we need state. So instead of using component, we can say use state. And then we can do, I'm just gonna format this to bring everything over. Const nav items set nav items, which we're actually not using, equals use state. I always do that. Use state and just assign it to the initial value like so. So where's nav items coming in from? Nav items was used before it's defined. Where is that? Nav item is declared, but it's never read. So we might actually need to use, let's see if this works. So if I come over here, everything's still working. Oh, no, it broke. So cannot access nav items before initialization. So here we'll probably need to you have a use effect, use effect. Are we even using nav right there? So you
Tom, was the issue there that you weren't using props.nav items?
I don't think so.
'Cause I think he was trying to reference what you're defining on line 13 with the default there.
So it was like so, right? Oh, I'm just gonna say like.
Sorry, that I might be misinterpreting that. Yeah, if you name that differently, would that correct?
Yeah,
there?
that you're right. I'm pretty sure that might be it. Yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. So yeah, I'm just saying like instead of nav items, I would say nav links. I don't know. Yeah. So that should still. So refresh. Okay, there we go. So yeah, we converted that to a functional component.
Can you show an example of from like news site 1 where you also had the articles, and then articles was a object with a bunch of key pairs in it to
a
turn
functional?
that into a functional? Yeah.
Which one was that?
In news site 1 and app, you had an additional state as well.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna not go through that part of it, but like there's because it would be pretty much the same thing. So like if
You
there's
just set it
two
as the
states,
default.
yeah, it'd be pretty much exactly identical to that, but just another way. So let's go. Does anybody else have another one that they want to do? Let's do homepage. Oh, this is going to be a good one. So here, let's go ahead and I'm just going to copy this down. And so it's a couple step process. Const homepage equals like that. Then we can get rid of the render and format that. So we got rid of the class. We turned that homepage into a functional component. I'm going to pass in props here. Just it's kind of beneficial to do that. So then I'm going to go, I don't need to reference this dot props. I can just reference props dot history. And let's see if this is still going to work. So if I come over here, homepage, click that, still works. Click that, still works. All right. Now if I go to, let's see, I'm just going to console log props. So we still have everything that we need. Cool. But I'm actually going to go back to app.js I'm going to pass in props here. I just want to see what the props look like. Console log. Props. All right, everything. So I noticed props right here isn't there. If for whatever, just for reference, for future reference, if I need access to history, like so, I think it's React router. So if I come down here, React router has this use history function, or function that allows us to access history. So you can use this use history in React router to access the history, just in case you don't have access to the props.history. Just want to let you know. Yep.
And what would that give us, Tom?
So if I do, React router DOM, if I do use history, but for whatever reason, if I don't have access to props, I can say const history equals use history, like so. This is just like a hook, kind of very similar to use state. And I believe if I do history, oh, no. Let's see. It's usually, you'll usually use the use history hook in child components. I've never used it at like the top level, but you'll have access to like essentially the same stuff like this in like child components if you're not passing in props.
Right now, it makes sense that in app, you can't console log props because it's the highest level, right? There is no props being passed down to app.
There actually is. So if I actually just pass it in like this, I'll have access to the history and all of that.
Ah, okay.
So, all right, we just converted that to a functional homepage to a functional component. I need to pass in props right there to have access to the history.props. Keep going. Article page. So again, I'm going to convert this into a function instead of a class. So const article page equals a functional component, and then get rid of the render method. And comment their format, where to go? Format document. So here I'm accessing this .props, but I don't have access to this .props, but I can pass in props right there. This might be where I might need it. So let's see here. So this is the article page. I'm just going to do a refresh. All right, nope, still good. All right, everything's still working properly. Cool, article page. I can do article teaser. Just gonna copy this down here. Comment out the class component. Again, make this into a functional component. Like so, and get rid of the render. And format document. Everything should still be working. Uh-oh, what happened? Props of undefined property. Where does it say that? Oh, this .props. So I can get rid of this, but also pass in props up here into the function. And everything refresh. Everything's still working. So I can keep going and doing all that. I don't really need this MD thing here. That's not working. but I can keep going. But I just wanted to show you a couple of more ways to just how to turn a functional component or a class-based component to a functional-based component. So what questions do you have about this new site 2?
When it comes to the what styling, like React Bootstrap or React-Strap, it's one of those things that we have to, if we're working as a group, we have to get on the same page, right? You can't say, hey, you work on the nav, I'll work on the article teaser component. But if we use different, whatever they're called, it's not going to work once we try to merge, right?
Correct. It might work, but yeah, you'll probably run into errors and issues. But so if you're working in a group, definitely nail down the CSS framework or CSS library that you want to use, and make sure you all are using the same CSS library. Good question. What other questions do you have?